It was a visit Southwest Florida spent days preparing for.
Cut short by a national tragedy.
Get us some damn gas masks for Theater 9. We can't get in it. I've got a child victim. I need rescue at the back door of Theater 9 now. And I got 7 down in Theater 9. 7 down.
With at least a dozen dead, many others injured, and a country on edge, the national spotlight turned to Fort Myers.
As the president turned to face the nation.
Such violence, such evil is senseless. It's beyond reason. But while we will never know fully what causes somebody to take the life of another, we do know what makes life worth living.
The pomp and circumstance that usually comes with a presidential visit took a backseat today to the movie theater massacre.
Right now, 10 lifeless bodies are still inside the Aurora, Colorado theater. In all, 12 people are dead and dozens are recovering. The early morning shooting stalled campaign events from both sides of the aisle, including President Obama's. Team coverage begins at 6 with Jeremiah Jacobson, who is at Harborside Event Center all day, and people there thought they would be hearing a fiery campaign speech, but heard something very different.
What matters at the end of the day is not the small things. It's not the trivial things, which so often consume us and our daily lives. Ultimately, it's how we choose to treat one another.
Politics pushed aside as President Obama joined hundreds in the Fort Myers crowd in trying to make sense of the deadly mass shooting in Colorado.
Such violence, such evil is senseless. It's beyond reason.
The script for the day was tossed out, and the 7-minute speech made little mention of the White House race.
When I heard the news this morning, I knew. I got up, at 5 o'clock to get ready to come here, and I turned the news on, and I knew.
Jennifer Lessinger had been invited to introduce the president, representing an average middle-class American, but her role was cut after the shift in tone, though she did get to meet the president briefly.
He was very sweet, very appreciative, and apologized. And I told him that I certainly understood, and I appreciated what he was doing, and that was it.
There was an occasional shout of 4 more years from the crowd, but the audience largely supported the change in tone, including Julio Ojeda, the man who made headlines from his economic questions for the president back in 2009.
The fact that President Obama loves his country, he just ended up dedicating the whole, event just to them, which was, I thought was very touching and very, heartfelt.
And if there's anything to take away from this tragedy, it's the reminder that life is very fragile. Our time here is limited and it is precious.
And like President Obama here in Fort Myers, Republican Mitt Romney today also set aside his campaign plans for the day and emphasized family during a brief statement. Here it is.
I stand before you today not as a man running for office, but as a father and grandfather, a husband, an American. This is a time for each of us to look into our hearts and remember how much we love one another, and how much we love and how much we care for our great country.
In light of the somber mood today, the Romney camp suspended its political ads in Colorado, and the Obama camp announced a similar move right before his arrival this morning in Fort Myers.
Well, just about 2 hours after Air Force One touched down in D.C., the president ordered all flags across the nation be flown at half-staff as a mark of respect for today's victims.
And right now, police are still working to get into suspect James Holmes' apartment in Colorado. Officials say the second-floor unit is elaborately booby-trapped, unlike anything they've ever seen before, and it could take them days to get inside.
Teresa Garcia is on the ground in Aurora, Colorado, with what authorities do know about the suspect.
It was chaos inside a packed movie theater after a heavily armed gunman threw smoke grenades and opened fire during a midnight showing of the new Batman movie.
I just talked to police officers, says we may have a number of people dead inside the theater.
Aurora police refused to comment on reports that the suspect, 24-year-old James Holmes, had his hair painted red and called himself the Joker. Police said he was dressed head to toe in body armor and wore a gas mask during the attack. Jennifer Seeger says the suspect pointed a gun directly at her face.
So I just jumped forward into the aisle and curled into a ball and waited for him to go up the stairs.
Police say Holmes fired an assault rifle, a shotgun, and at least one handgun during the attack. Some of those shots went through the walls into another theater. A man in a blood-soaked shirt and a child in a Batman costume were among hundreds who made it out alive. Corbin Dates was sitting in the second row.
I felt the caps from the bullets burn my leg.
The University of Colorado confirms Holmes was dropping out of a graduate program in neuroscience. Police found explosives in his car and his nearby apartment.
His apartment is booby-trapped with various incendiary and chemical devices and apparent tripwires.
The survivors include a 3-month-old baby.
She got shot when she got shot. It's just God watching over us. She saw it right there.
The suspect's family is cooperating with police and says their hearts go out to the victims. Teresa Garcia, CBS News, Aurora, Colorado.
And despite the shooting, The Dark Knight Rises broke many opening night records at the box office last night. It was opening night last night. Many of those sales coming from Southwest Florida.
So we wanted to know what's being done here to keep film fans safe. We sent Anjali Lone to the Gulf Coast Town Center to find out, and she's live at 6 with the answer.
Yeah, Regal Cinemas tells me that they are monitoring security at all of their theaters, but they wouldn't go into too much detail about their strategy. Now, there are 20 different screenings of the new Batman blockbuster here at Gulf Coast Town Center, but you can see that lines are pretty light for a Friday night opening. It was a somber day at the movies at Gulf Coast Town Center's Regal Cinemas. Some devout Batman fans made it out to today's opening day showing, but the excitement of the premiere was overshadowed by sorrow of this morning's massacre in Colorado.
I thought that was very crazy. I didn't believe that actually happened, especially in a movie theater.
Still, some fans say they wouldn't miss their chance to see The Dark Knight Rises.
Well, I'm a big superhero fan, and I love watching all this stuff.
Regal Cinema says it will be monitoring security at all of its theaters in wake of the tragedy in Aurora and make adjustments as needed. AMC theaters are now prohibiting Batman fans from wearing masks or carrying fake weapons into today's premiere.
It should stop at a certain extent. You shouldn't be able to cover your face or any of that.
Now, we have also learned that the Silver Spot Theater in the Mercado at North Naples is also adding security. They're going to have much of their mall security stay around the movie theater tonight. Live in Fort Myers, Anjali Lone, Wink News Now.
All right, thank you, Anjali. And like we mentioned, this morning's deadly massacre completely changed the tone of the president's trip to Southwest Florida. He arrived at Southwest Florida International Airport ahead of schedule just before 10 this morning.
Air Force One, the wind 0990 at 8, runway 24, cleared to land.
Clear to land, runway 24.
Air Force One taxied to a stop in a closed section of the airport. Law enforcement vehicles lined up for the motorcade to accompany the presidential limousine to Harborside. The president gave a subdued wave as he got off the plane. The White House had invited several local people to welcome President Obama to this area, but that was canceled because of the shootings in Colorado.
Along the way, his supporters lined the route on MLK Boulevard, just hoping to get a glimpse of the president. The motorcade whizzed by in a matter of seconds, but it's a memory that some say will last a lifetime. A few of those people we spoke to returned to the spot where they waited for his arrival in 2009, when a newly elected President Obama last came to downtown Fort Myers.
It was just an honor to even be, get a chance to see the president for the second time. Most cities the president don't even never bless the surface. So to have him bless our surface, it's an honor.
Well, many of the spectators described his demeanor as somber. Even on the brief ride, some say they could see his head was down and he appeared to be in deep thought. Those along the route had 2 opportunities to see him as the motorcade came and went in just about an hour. Some Lee County residents were unaware of the presidential motorcade route and actually ended up getting stuck waiting for it to pass. These drivers on Treeline Avenue were trying to make the turn onto Daniels Parkway and I-75. They sat in hot cars, some for over 40 minutes. One Airport Inn employee actually brought out bottles of water for the stranded motorists.
Well, we saw a bunch of people parked out in front of the hotel, so we figured it would be a good time to feed them some water, since they've been parked here for about the last hour.
Well, after the motorcade cleared the area, drivers quickly returned to their cars. Traffic returned to normal.
But people fought more than a lot of traffic to see the president. They braved heat and some very long lines.
And despite the change in tone, President Obama still drew a crowd of about 1,000. Rachel Raffanelli spent the day with that crowd outside Harborside Event Center.
As hundreds moved into the Harborside Event Center,
reporters and protesters exchanged chants outside.
And we want someone that cares about the working family, which I don't think they're doing.
Obama supporters hope to hear the president's plans for the future.
About the economy, jobs, health care.
Number one concern is economics.
After the short speech, some were disappointed, but tell Wink News they felt it was appropriate in light of the tragedy.
It's not time for politics. It's time for America to come together and show love for the kids and everybody getting killed.
I thought it was the best thing he could have done in light of the people that lost their lives.
The moment was very special. Everybody, a moment of silence for the victims in Aurora, Colorado. My son used to live there.
Well, despite the short speech, many said they were simply excited to see the President of the United States in person. For some, it was a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity.
For those in that Colorado theater in the midst of the horrific massacre this morning, the sights and sounds will haunt them forever.
Witnesses struggle to describe the scene, while within the last hour, authorities have begun to remove the bodies from the theater. And many reporters say even they are at a loss for words. Kel Thompson joins us live with some of the raw reaction.
You know, we see so much come out of Colorado, and it's hard really to keep track of everything. I want to share with you just a few of the raw reactions from the scene today, starting with the police scanner traffic in the minutes just after James Holmes opened fire.
Team 6, we got another person outside shot in the leg, a female. I got people running out of the theater that are shot. Get us some damn gas masks for Theater 9. We can't get in it. We need rescue inside the auditorium. Multiple victims. 16, I got 7 down in Theater 9. 7 down. I've got a child victim. I need rescue at the back door of Theater 9 now.
Little girls were shot, little boys were shot, elderly people were shot, teenagers were shot, people that were still in high school, they were shot. He did not care. Death did not care at all about age, sex, or anything. It was all a massacre.
A cop came walking through the front door before everyone was cleared up and before everything was completely under control. A cop came walking through the door holding a little girl in his arms, and she wasn't moving. And I mean, I honestly can't think of any kind of person who would intentionally hurt a little girl. So I mean, it unfortunately makes me think that she just got caught in the crossfire.
If I can say anything to our citizens, and particularly to those folks who have kids, no matter whether they're small or teenagers, it's talk to them. Talk to them.
And as we have mentioned, flags are being flown at half-staff until sundown on Wednesday in honor of the victims. We'll take you back live to Colorado on Wink News at 7 o'clock.
All right, Cale, thank you. As we learn more about the shootings in the coming hours and days, one thing we learned early today, the shooter took aim at random targets of all ages.
We're leaving you tonight with a survivor story, a dad who held his 3-month-old baby close during the chaos, and tonight they're both okay.
She got shot when she got shot. It's just God watching over us. She saw him right there on the stairs, and she picked him up.
Coverage of the Colorado shooting continues next. Scott Pelley is in Aurora with the CBS Evening News.
And we'll be back for Wink News at 7.